Hello again. I'm guessing that not too many people will be seeing this video, but if you are, I hope you're having a great day. Today, I'm going to try and go a little bit faster than I did in the last episode. I've got my notes off screen here in a better, more condensed format with things like dates and facts that I want to share about the different CDs we've got here. This might end up being 2 episodes. I want to cover, these CDs are from when I very first started collecting back in college. Got them all at the same store as it was going out of business on campus, but I don't know exactly what order I got them in. So this might be 2 episodes, depending on how long it takes to cover the different things I want to cover about these ones here. Don't want to take up too much of your time, but I also think that some of this stuff is really interesting. And for my sake, since not many people are really watching this, I like to have it down just for my own records. So I hope you find some new music that you haven't heard before today, and maybe it'll inspire you to get out there, do a little thrifting, bargain bin hunting, to find some music you might not have found otherwise. So, all these discs here I got from a closing record store on campus. Year would have been 2016 to 2017. The store was called Haffa's, and unfortunately for them, they were closing or in the process of going out of business when I discovered them, but very fortunately for me, it meant they had a very large and always changing bin full of bargain items. So CDs, I think, and discs started at $2 when I first started going there, eventually got all the way down to 50 cents as they were clearing the last of their shelves. So a lot of these discs I probably paid about $1 for. I had a bit of a system going back in the day where I would go in, look through the bin, find a couple CDs that looked interesting, write them down, and then listen to them over the next few days and come back if I liked them. But after a few attempts of doing that and then not finding the discs because they were just in big crates that were ever-changing, full of very cheap items, so I just decided to grab them the same day if they looked interesting, and then listen and do research on them after the fact. So there are a few discs, I believe, that I got in this time period that I don't have here because I ultimately decided it wasn't something I wanted to keep, not something I wanted to listen to. There's one in particular I can sort of remember. It was a green cover, or it had green highlights, some sort of alien creature, and I really don't remember what the band or the title was. Just remember thinking back in the day, I think it might have been a bit screamo or more intense than I was listening to at that time, and I decided I didn't need it, but now I really wish I still had it. For the most part, this is all the CDs I got in that time frame. So these have been through several sellers and also several markdowns, definitely peeled many layers of stickers off of these back in the day. These should all be clean now. I do have an example of a DVD collection that I got back at Haffa's. This was $1 on sale in that time. This is one of those horror movie collections where probably none of the movies would sell by themselves, so you get them in this way. I have actually no idea what those stickers are meant to be, but this, and then there was another price under that, so these CDs have been through the barrel, for sure. I don't have these in any particular order today, except for this first one, and I am saving my favorite for last again, but this first one here, Fuel's Sunburn album, I believe I picked up when I was listening to the albums first, like streaming them on Spotify or where I could find them, and then coming back. And I do like this album. A couple of the songs, especially these first 2, I think are real standouts. There's some good ones all the way through, though, especially if you like a harder rock type sound. But very unfortunately, I didn't realize that this disc is not the Fuel Sunburn disc. This is actually 311's music album, which I will admit I have not listened to more than once, maybe once a few years ago when I realized I had the wrong disc, but mostly when I pick this up or open it up, I just get kind of bummed out that I don't actually have the CD for this one because I would love to have that. But that was, I believe, the only one where I don't have the correct or working disc. Definitely something to keep an eye out for when you're thrifting. Always open it up and grab the disc, and I always try and give it a whirl on the back as well to make sure there's no scratches or marks that look like they would make it unplayable for some reason. But that is Fuel's Sunburn. This album's from 1998, even though we don't have the disc there. It did go platinum back in 2000, and they still have over 1 million monthly Spotify listeners, so not a rare artist or album by any means, but definitely a regret that I didn't check that sooner, because I thought I had it for years and I just didn't. Next up here, we have Golden Animals, Free Your Mind and Win a Pony. You can kind of see the title there on the side. One of these thin, more papery sleeves on the CD. I really love the art overall here, this sort of tree person showing off the different songs. On the inside, you also have this dinosaur creature, which I really, really like. I don't believe there is a sleeve in this one. We got our disc in there. This is Golden Animals' first LP. They had an EP before this. It's from 2008. Didn't see any awards or chart information when I was pulling this up. I would describe this as sort of a folk rock or an indie rock. Definitely a bit soft for the things that I listen to these days, but it's not a bad listen at all. Definitely worth a playthrough, and one I believe I picked up back in the day because I was drawn to the art and the cover versus the sound, but definitely still glad I grabbed that one. This next one here is the Thunderbirds, or apologies, just Thunderbirds Are Now. This is their album Make History from 2006. This is their third and final full-length album. See the track list there. And personally, on this one, I would say The Veil Comes Down is probably my favorite tune, but this is also a good one. Worth a listen if you're into some of that alt sound. And this disc looks crazy on my capture. I'm not sure how that's going to look after I edit it. I've got a very holographic disc there, and the bandmates here as well. I found that this album was described as post-punk revival when I was doing my research. I won't lie, I am terrible with those sorts of terms to describe music. I don't think in those terms, and I'm not really sure what all of them mean, so perhaps this is the perfect example of post-punk revival. To me, those are just kind of frou-frou words made up to categorize things that I think aren't always as easy to categorize, but that is Make History. This is a fun one. It's got some good energy if you're looking for something like that. Next here, I've got Scissor Sisters Nightwork. Was definitely drawn to this cover. On this one, it's a lot of fun. It's also got a good color scheme here. Again, not sure how this will look on camera, but it's a very vivid pinky red here, which contrasts nicely with the blue, and that continues on the inside. Nice clean disc there. Scissor Sisters, obviously a bigger name. I believe I recognized it, which is why I grabbed this CD, even though I was not super familiar with this set of tunes on this one. Let's see if we can get that in better focus for you. Does not like the glare on this one, I don't think. We got the title track, Nightwork. I think Any Which Way, it's probably my favorite tune on here, but a lot of good ones, good queer, just fun times, I would say overall. Definitely worth a listen. This is their third studio album. I don't think it's their most popular, but it's the one I'm most familiar with since I own it here. I did make number 18 on the Billboard Hot 200 the year it was released, which was 2010. Like I said, I think I was familiar with their name back in the day, but not with many of their songs. I think I knew Let's Have a Kiki back then. Was sort of the big tune floating around, but a lot of fun stuff on that one as well. This next one here is Loop 243's Zodiac Dust. Definitely grabbed this one just because I was intrigued by the design and I wasn't sure exactly what was going on here. So you can see this all right. You've got these little squares of sort of a galactic pattern, and then you've got all the different songs, a list of all the different instruments used on them. So this is definitely more of a noise type album. It's a lot of, like it says, Loop 243, it's a lot of drum noises, marimba noises, atmospheric type sound. It is interesting. especially if you like that kind of music. It reminds me, this might be an obscure reference, of if you've ever watched Anna Music, which I would 1000% recommend if you haven't. It reminds me kind of the drum machine tracks from Anna Music 1 and 2. So definitely interesting, but no vocals, if I'm remembering correctly, just that different percussive and experimental sounds. So definitely a fun one to own. Not something I would have picked up regularly or even known about regularly, I think. So fun grab there. Next up, we have The Soft Moon, and that's a self-titled album here. So the band is The Soft Moon as well. This is from 2010. It's their debut album. I believe it's sort of the work of one creator, and you can see it here if it's coming up on camera. All songs written and produced by Luis Vasquez in 2010. And this one is actually sad. I was doing my research for it, and Luis Vasquez, that is, actually passed away earlier this year. I'll put a few details on screen here, but he actually, it was drug-related. So, very sad. This is a very interesting album, and I would definitely recommend listening to it. Yeah, if I had to compare this to an album, this is even more obscure than Anna Music. This reminds me kind of Alien Lizard's Monatomic Gold album. I'll put that here, hopefully. Interesting soundscape, whispery, strange, out there vocals. Just an interesting piece overall. So I'm very glad that it was released. Glad I have a copy, and but sad that the creator is no longer with us. This one here, I'm not sure if I listened to it before I grabbed it, but I love this cover. This is Badly Drawn Boys' Have You Fed the Fish album. Got all sorts of cut and collage, different characters on here, and that sort of theme wraps around to the back. This album has a very strong opener. I just think it's fun. Sort of a plane voice coming on, telling you that a cloud passing by the plane looks just like Badly Drawn Boy. And all the passengers, I believe, are sort of agreeing in the background on that track. It's just a fun intro. Overall, it's a pretty middle-of-the-road rock album for me. Not something I have on repeat, but it is fun to listen through. This is from 2002. Apparently the first song, not that opener, but the Have You Fed the Fish ? Song was a chart topper back in the day. I'd never heard of them or that song before I picked this album up. But yeah, I do think it gets a little boring as you go through. It's a little bit monotonous, but not a bad listen on that one either. This one, and I'm seeing now, I actually need to get that sticker off a little bit better. This is The Bugs' London Zoo album. This is from 2008. This is the third full album from Kevin Martin, sort of the mastermind behind The Bug. And according to my research, this is one of many musical projects for him. Very nice, clean, matte black on the disc there. I was drawn to the design of this one. Definitely looks like something that goes pretty hard, and it definitely does. I was looking up the style for this, what you would call this, and a lot of the sources I was seeing were calling it raga, if I'm saying that correctly, R-A-G-G-A. Sort of a Jamaican reggae mixed with dubstep type sound, although it did say Kevin himself was British. I'm not sure if he was from Jamaica or perhaps moved to Jamaica, but a lot of the features and the vocals on here have a pretty thick accent. This is a ton of fun, definitely worth a listen. And again, like a lot of these, not something I would have found or listened to, I don't think, without finding it here, because Spotify usually does not recommend stuff too far outside of what I listen to, and this was a very fresh find for me back in the day. That's a lot of fun. This one here, not my favorite that I have, but still a nice little album. This is the Ballroom Thieves, A Wolf in the Doorway. This is from 2015. It's their debut album. Did not see any awards listed, but this band is pretty popular still. They were self-described on their site as an indie folk band, which I would agree with. not something I'm usually in the mood to listen to, but some of these tracks are actually quite a bit of fun. I love the little design here. Actually kind of mirrors this one. You've got the sun and the moon. My favorite tune on this one, probably Bury Me Smiling. It's just the woman singing and piano, I believe, but it's got a very nice sound to it, very melancholy, but also beautiful piece. I realized I stopped saying my favorites as I was going through. Just since I have London Zoo here, I think Skeng is my favorite track on there. I don't know if you can see those down here. I don't know if I'll be playing any of these songs in the video. I don't want to do any copyright type stuff, even though this isn't monetized and it's not my plan to. But that one, if you're only listening to one song, Skeng is a very interesting one. So next up here, this is Miracle of Modern Science's Mean Dreams. This is from 2015. I absolutely love this album. It's a ton of fun. I like the simple design. I don't know what it is, like a lyre here on this disc. Nothing underneath there. This is sort of an alt, upbeat rock type jam. Although they have, the instrumentation is a little bit more folk or maybe bluegrass. They've got banjo, strings, that kind of thing going on. I like all of these tunes. You can definitely listen through this full album if you're into this genre, and I have several times. They have another album, it's called Memes. I'll put a picture up of that. I really wish I'd found that one too. I love that one. I believe it's an EP. Might actually like that more than this release, but either way, introduced me to this band, which I would not have found otherwise. They do have the theme here from The Magicians. I'm not a huge TV watcher. I've never seen that, but perhaps you might know them from that. If you're just going to listen to one, it's hard to say on this one. Maybe Never Knew Normal, but the whole thing is worth a listen, definitely. Next up, we have Better Than Ezra's Before the Robots. Pretty simple orange disc here, which kind of highlights the scuff marks. A lot of these discs, or a lot of these CDs rather, even though the disc works just fine and is in good condition, and often the sleeves are very nice as well, the plastic really just takes a beating on these old types of CDs. I think I do prefer that to the cloth ones, because you'll see they start to, get gummed up on the edges, kind of like a book would. But yeah, these show their age. They certainly do. This is from 2005. This is an alright album, not one that I've listened through too many times, but I'm glad that I didn't get rid of it. I think my favorite song on there right now is Juicy. Not super familiar with Better Than Ezra, but it was a name I know I recognized back in the day, which is probably why I picked this one up. They are not only still active, as I was researching this, but they're actually on tour. So go them if that is an act you're trying to catch. Almost to the bottom here, and I think this will all fit into one video depending how I chop this down. This is Concrete Blonde's Mexican Moon. I think I recognize the name, or maybe it sounded familiar, and I also really love the design of this piece. So I had to grab it back in the day. I love the different skeletons. Got the guy there. This is a lovely disc. Almost gives me sort of indie horror movie vibes. Not my favorite listen ever, but there are some really good tunes on here. Jenny I Read is great. Jesus Forgive Me for the things that I'm about to say, also a great listen. Then you've got Mexican Moon, which is the title track. They also actually have it in Spanish here as well. I don't know if the singer speaks Spanish or if that was for funsies, but it's the same tune, just in Spanish there on the end. This is from 1993. This is a pretty old disc. It's in pretty good shape, though. You can see all the scratches on there in my fan lights. This is their 5th studio album. It did make the charts in 93, but I didn't see any huge accolades for it online. Definitely worth a listen, though, if you are into that sort of slower, more 90s rock style. I would give that one a listen for sure. Here we have the Future Heads. This is a British group, I'm almost positive. This album is from 2004. Also a little bit of scuff still on that one that I need to take off. Don't have too much from this one on my notes. Pretty simple disc there. I would recommend Le Garage, not the title track, but rather the first track. That's a great tune. But there's some fun ones all the way through. Not a style or genre that I typically listen to, but still fun. And again, a band I never would have found otherwise, if not on this journey. Definitely worth taking a peek at that. And last but definitely not least, like I said, I saved this one for last. This is my favorite album that I found back at the store. This is Goon Moon's Liquor's Last Leg. Fairly obscure album, very small band. It's pretty simple on the inside here. You've got some Spanish. If there was an accent here, it would translate without sun, there is only loneliness or only isolation. Without the accent, I'm thinking that they just meant to put it there, but it could have a different meaning than I'm interpreting that. Very simple. We've got a moth here and then the disc, which has that sort of strange leg design that they got on the moon. This was one of the first ones that I found at Hoffa's way back in the day, and I'm actually still kicking myself. They had the first album, which I think is an EP from this group. They only have 2 releases ever, and they had it. And I hadn't listened to it yet when I found this, and I was thinking, oh, I don't want to buy both. What if I don't like it? Then I just have 2 albums from this band I don't like. And now I don't know if it's a physical CD that you can really find. Put a picture of that one up there too. But this is a ton of fun. I would recommend giving this a listen. If you have to grab just one, maybe Hardcore Q3 or My Machine, but it's a very interesting listen. And what really inspired me on this journey was listening to it, streaming it, and then thinking, oh my gosh, I want to listen to this all the time. And I can, because I've got the disc here. So yeah, that is the end of the CDs I wanted to talk about here. And let me know, I know nobody is watching this. As of recording this, 0 people are subscribed, so it's probably falling to the wayside. But please let me know if you've listened to any of these albums, if you found any strange ones while you were thrifting, and just if you have any music recommendations in general. I'm always looking for new music. Just wanted to make a note here as I was going over everything I have for their other album here, which is titled I Got a Brand New Egg-Laying Machine. It is something you can buy, it looks like on their Bandcamp, something you could purchase digitally, and that's totally fine, and you can stream it as well. I'm just kind of bummed that I didn't get the physical one when I got this one, because I really like owning the disc versus just having it digitally, especially when it's a bargain price. And with that, I think we are all good to go. Only other thing I want to do, like before, is recommend an album that I've been listening to via streaming, not something that I have on disc, although I did order that Mauve album after the last video when I saw that it was on sale, so that should be coming in shortly. The album I want to share today is from a band called Flock of Moons. The title is Emanon, and I'll put that here, and I'll also link their Bandcamp down below if you're looking to stream that. It's a small band, harder rock type sound, definitely a little bit grungier than the last one. Not emo, though, if that's a turnoff for you. I love that album. I recommend it to everyone that I can, and I would love to own it physically, but I haven't seen that for sale. So maybe as I'm researching this, I'll see that as well, and also be able to add that to my collection. But yeah, I think also I might do it in the posts on YouTube, so it's not always in the videos. I would like to be sharing some music videos as well. Another thing I have sort of a collection of is strange music videos that YouTube recommends to me over time, and I find a lot of interesting and off the beaten path music that way as well. So with that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening. I hope that if you are watching this, you found maybe a new album or a new artist that you might not have seen before that you enjoy. Happy listening, rock on, stay hydrated, and if you never hear from me again, never tune in again, I hope you have a great one, And I genuinely mean that. Like I said before, if you have any weird recommendations, just let me know. Happy Spotify Wrapped. It's December 4th as I'm recording this. I'll put some of the genres that Spotify said I was listening to on screen. It's always something weird and made up, I feel, but fun to see my listening habits. I listen to Spotify way too much. I'm trying to move to more of a media library slash physical collection. But yeah, I hope you have a great one. And if you never tune in or watch again, just know that there is always more music out there to be enjoyed. All right. Bye-bye.